At 52, she has the face of a 25-year-old. When she was 40, she married a broke prosecutor 12 years her senior, despite being wealthy and well-established herself. But no one could have predicted that just 10 years later, that same prosecutor would become the president of South Korea. Rumor has it she spent a jaw-dropping 1 billion won, about $750,000, on her face alone. In May 2022, when President Joe Biden met her for the first time, he couldn't help but compliment her on her looks. This glamorous woman is none other than South Korea's First Lady, keon-hee. On March 9, 2022, People Power Party candidate Suk-yeol won the presidential election by a slim margin, becoming South Korea's 20th president. 2 months later, at a U.S.-Korea leaders' dinner during Biden's visit to Seoul, Biden joked to Yoon, "We've both married amazing women." Not long after, keon-hee became a full-blown celebrity in South Korea. She even has her own fan club. Her outfits, from clothes to shoes to handbags, sell out the moment she's seen wearing them. In November 2022, Kim visited a child in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, who was suffering from congenital heart disease. A photo from that visit spread like wildfire across the Korean media. Kim, dressed in black, holding the child in her arms, gazing blankly into the distance, looking every bit like a reincarnation of Audrey Hepburn. Hearing all this, you'd think keon-hee is beloved by all. But in reality, she's one of the most controversial first ladies South Korea has ever seen. Some Korean netizens have even called her a ticking time bomb next to President Yoon Suk-yeol. Take, for instance, a photo snapped at the 2023 G20 summit, where Kim was casually hanging on to Biden's arm. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was married to Biden. Naturally, this sparked a wave of criticism from Korean netizens. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. Kim had already been caught up in a slew of scandals, accusations of plagiarism in her academic papers, a bar hostess controversy, bribery allegations, and more. On top of that, just 3 days after Yoon Suk-yeol announced his presidential bid on July 2, 2021, Kim's mother, Choi Eun-soon, was arrested for insurance fraud. And in 2023, Kim's brother was sent to prosecutors for his role in a real estate scam. Today, we're diving into the wild, drama-filled life of keon-hee, the first lady whose story is so crazy, even a K-drama writer wouldn't dare dream it up. keon-hee was born on September 2, 1972, in Songdong-gu, Seoul, as the third of 4 kids, with an older sister, an older brother, and a younger brother. When she was little, her family moved to Yangpyeong County in Gyeonggi Province because of her dad's job. Her father was a local government worker, and to make ends meet, her mother worked in a tailor shop and ran a small food stall on the side. But tragedy struck when Kim was just 15. Her father suddenly passed away, leaving behind her mom and the 4 kids. After the funeral, Kim's mother, Choi Eun-soon, sold a piece of land the family had bought in Seoul years earlier and moved them to Namyangju in Gyeonggi Province. There, she opened a motel called New World, which became a massive success. The place had 48 rooms, and over 100 couples would stop by daily, raking in a ton of cash for the family. As time went on, Kim's mom expanded into the real estate business. These days, the old Love Motel has been renovated into a wellness center, run by Kim's older brother. But beneath the surface, this business is tied to some shady dealings, all thanks to Choi Eun-soon's illegal maneuvers. In 1992, at 20 years old, keon-hee started her college journey at the Gyeonggi University, majoring in fine arts. After graduating, she pursued a master's degree in art education at Suk-yeol Women's University. During grad school, Kim was already teaching at several middle schools. She kept climbing the academic ladder, and in 1999, she began her PhD in digital design at Kookmin University, earning her doctorate in 2008. Not stopping there, Kim also snagged an MBA from Seoul National University, one of South Korea's top schools. Kim wasn't just book smart, she had serious money smarts too. According to her, while she was still in school in the 90s, she made her first big payday by trading stocks. In 2007, at 35, keon-hee launched her own art curation company, Covana Contents, focusing on organizing exhibitions for foreign masters. But Kim wasn't just a curator. She also taught part-time at prestigious universities like Anyang University and Suwon Women's University. By this point, she had fully cemented her image as the ultimate combo of a brainy socialite. Then in 2010, 38-year-old Kim crossed paths with Yoon Suk-yeol, who was 12 years her senior. Born in 1960, Yoon was what you'd call a late bloomer. He failed the bar exam 9 times, finally passing on his 10th try at the age of 31. At 34, he became a prosecutor and buried himself in work, staying single well into his 40s. One sunny afternoon, Kim went to a temple to pray and ended up meeting Yoon through a high monk's introduction. Yoon was immediately drawn to her, but the age gap and the huge difference in their financial status made him think he didn't stand a chance. He even tossed out her business card, but not long after, he couldn't resist. He had secretly memorized her email and eventually reached out to express his feelings. They started dating soon after. Now you'd think, given their ages, they'd be ready to tie the knot. But Kim hesitated. Yoon was 50 and, despite working for decades, was practically broke. He had only 20 million won, about 15,000 US dollars, in savings. Meanwhile, Kim was worth billions in Korean won. At this crucial moment, a fortune teller came into the picture. The master told them that they were destined to be together. Yoon was fated to be a lifelong bachelor, and Kim was destined to be a widow. But if they got married, they'd reach incredible heights together. Taking the fortune teller's words to heart, they tied the knot in 2012. In an interview, Kim once joked, "If it weren't for me, Yoon would probably still be single today." Yoon, for his part, made a sweet promise at their wedding. He'd cook for her for the rest of their lives. The following year, Kim got pregnant, but due to her age and the stress of work, they sadly lost a baby. Now, the couple doesn't have any children, but they've filled their home with pets, cats, dogs, and more. Maybe that fortune teller's prediction really did come true, because after Kim and Yoon got married, their careers skyrocketed. Kim went on to curate a string of high-end exhibitions, and in 2017, she was named one of South Korea's top 100 trendsetters by a well-known magazine. That same year, public records revealed that the Yoon family's assets totaled 6.47 billion won. And guess what? 6.2 billion of that was all Kim's. Just her real estate alone, a home and commercial building in Seoul's posh Sicheodong, was valued at 1.2 billion won. And that was back then. As for Yoon, his claim to fame came from doing the unthinkable, putting 2 former South Korean presidents, Lee Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye, behind bars. When the infamous Park Geun-hye Choi Soon-sil scandal blew up in 2016, Yoon, as the head of the special prosecution team, went after Park, her confidant Choi, and even Samsung's vice chairman Lee Jae-yong. He didn't just talk the talk. He got them all locked up. After Moon Jae-in took office in 2017, Yoon was appointed head of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office. As Moon went after corruption in the previous government, Yoon was always on the front lines. Later, when he led the charge in the investigation of ex-President Lee Myung-bak's corruption case, he secured a conviction and earned the Blue House's trust. In 2019, Yoon was promoted to Prosecutor General. But here's where things got messy. Yoon wasn't afraid to go after members of Moon's administration, like former Justice Minister Cho Kook. That didn't exactly sit well with the government or the ruling party, and tensions started to build. In March 2021, Yoon finally stepped down as Prosecutor General after clashing with Cho Kook's successor, Justice Minister Cho Mae. But his public image only got stronger. He became a symbol of anti-corruption and integrity. In a November 2020 poll on potential presidential candidates, Yoon, still serving as Prosecutor General at the time, racked up a staggering 24.7% support, beating out every other candidate from both political parties. People were shocked, but it seemed like Yoon had just realized his political potential. On June 29, 2021, 117 days after resigning as Prosecutor General, Yoon held a press conference in Seoul and officially threw his hat into the ring, announcing he would run for president under the People Power Party. Fast forward to March 10, 2022, Yoon was confirmed as South Korea's next president. The The very next day marked his and Kim's 10th wedding anniversary. Kim first caught the public's eye back in July 2019, when Yoon was promoted to prosecutor general by Moon Jae-in. She showed up in front of the media, fussing over Yoon and straightening his suit jacket, and her stunning looks had South Korea buzzing. But as soon as Yoon announced his run for the presidency, his political enemies went digging into Kim's past, and they didn't stop until they'd uncovered every last bit of dirt. In June 2021, a document titled the Yoon Suk-yeol X-Files started making waves online. The file detailed Yoon's life story and laid out all the controversies surrounding his family, but the juiciest claim was about Kim Keon-hee. According to the document, back in 1997, Kim allegedly went by the name Julie and worked as a VIP hostess on the 6th floor of the Ramada Renaissance Hotel in Gangnam, Seoul. The hotel had always claimed that the 6th floor housed machinery rooms, and that area stayed closed off until it was demolished in October 2016. However, the document suggested that the 6th floor was actually a secret spot reserved for high-profile meetings between powerful government officials, corporate bigwigs, and VIPs, arranged by Jo Nam-yuke, the chairman of a major construction firm. The file implied that Kim, or Julie, used her time as a hostess to rub elbows with South Korea's elite and slowly climb the social ladder. As soon as this bombshell dropped, the internet exploded. Then in December 2021, a man named On-hae-yuke, the former president of the Korean Junior Taekwondo Association, went public with an interview. He claimed that on May 7, 1997, he was invited to the hotel's VIP lounge on the 6th floor by Jo Nam-yuke himself, and there he met a woman who introduced herself as Julie, none other than Kim Keon-hee. When asked by reporters how he could possibly remember the exact date after 24 years, On confidently replied that it was because the day before, he had just attended the Taekwondo Championships. He remembered the hotel visit vividly because it was such a big deal. According to the document, Kim and Yoon's romantic chance meeting at the temple wasn't exactly what it seemed either. Allegedly, it was Jo Nam-yuke who played matchmaker between the two. By July 29, 2021, things got even crazier. A huge mural was hung on the wall of a bookstore in Seoul, showing a woman who looked a lot like Kim, with the caption, "Julie's Men, Julie's dream of becoming First Lady." Next to it were the names of all the high society figures she supposedly mingled with over the years: doctors, CEOs, prosecutors, executives, TV hosts, and more. Kim and Yoon were understandably furious about the mural, but because it didn't explicitly name them, they couldn't charge the artist with defamation. They were stuck, left to stew over the scandalous painting hanging in plain sight. On December 13, 2021, Kim Keon-hee finally addressed the whole Julie scandal. She claimed she had 2 master's degrees and a PhD, and during those years, she was either buried in school or busy working. According to her, there was no way she could have been a hostess, and she was 100% not Julie. She even threw in a challenge: if she really was this Julie character, with all the staff and employees at the hotel, why hasn't a single person come forward to say it was her? After her statement, Yoon's political opponents couldn't dig up any solid evidence to prove she was Julie. The whole thing turned into an unsolved mess, a classic he said she said situation. By 2022, South Korean prosecutors concluded that the Julie reports were false. They charged On-hae-yuke and the TV station that interviewed him with violating the Public Official Election Act. But Kim's problems didn't stop there. While she was trying to clear her name, her own words about her degrees opened a new can of worms. Back in July 2021, Kim was accused of plagiarism, not just in her PhD thesis, but also in 3 other academic papers she published while working on her doctorate. All 4 papers were completed within 2007, and anyone who's ever written an academic paper knows that cranking out just one quality paper usually takes at least 6 months. So, finishing 4 papers in 1 year? Yeah, the quality was bound to be sketchy. By September 2012, an academic investigation group made up of 14 associations released their findings on Kim's academic misconduct. The verdict? All 4 papers had undeniable plagiarism issues. But here's where things got frustrating. Kim's alma mater, Kookmin University, claimed that since the 5-year statute of limitations had expired, they couldn't verify whether or not her papers were plagiarized. This excuse from the university sparked outrage among the Korean public, with many calling it a blatant cover-up. On October 1st, 2021, over 200 Kookmin University graduates gathered at the school gates, holding up banners that read, "Graduating from this school is a disgrace. We don't want these diplomas anymore. Take them back." They were fed up, and who could blame them? If Kim was just another Korean socialite looking to polish her image, no one would have bothered digging into her past. But with her husband Yoon running for president, all eyes were on her. And the drama didn't stop there. In November 2021, Kim got hit with more scandals, this time for lying on her resume. Back in 2007, as she was finishing up her PhD, Kim applied for lecturer positions at 5 different universities. Years later, it came out that her resume was filled with over 20 fake claims, from exaggerated academic achievements to completely made-up job titles and awards. One of the biggest lies? She claimed she had studied entertainment and media at NYU's Stern School of Business in 2006. But in reality, that study abroad experience was part of a 6-month course she took at Seoul National University. Kim had only spent 5 days in New York with a couple of hours of class each day. The rest of the time, she was off touring museums. Yet, she made it sound like she was hitting the books hard at NYU. And it gets better. On the resume, Kim also claimed that between December 2003 and December 2006, she worked in the strategic planning department of a cultural technology company. The only problem? That company wasn't even founded until November 2004. Was she time traveling or what? When confronted, Kim brushed it off, saying she might have mixed up the dates because it happened so long ago, but she did work there. She also claimed that in 2004, she won a grand prize at the Seoul International Cartoon and Animation Festival. But when reporters checked the winners list, surprise, surprise, no Kim to be found. Despite all this, Kim refused to admit she'd done anything wrong. She argued that at worst, it was just a little resume embellishment, something everyone does to stand out in front of HR. She even fired back, asking, "Come on, haven't you ever exaggerated on your resume? If you're going to call that a crime, then fine. It's a crime." Facing the media, Kim doubled down, saying, "I'm not a public figure or a government official. When I sent out those resumes, I didn't even know Yoon. Do I really deserve to be investigated like this?" That stubborn refusal to admit fault? Yeah, it lit a fire under the Korean public, and it started to hurt Yoon's approval ratings. Under mounting pressure, Kim finally held a press conference on December 26, 2021, to publicly apologize. She admitted that the resume exaggerations were all her fault and said she felt terrible for embarrassing her husband. During the press conference, she apologized a total of 6 times and said, "I was wrong 5 times." But she didn't stop there. In a move clearly designed to drum up some sympathy, Kim brought up her personal life, saying that Yoon had always wanted a child, but she couldn't give him one. She admitted she felt like a failure as a wife. Of course, people soon realized that Kim might not have just faked her resume. There were questions about her perfect face too. On December 8, 2021, a side-by-side comparison of Kim's old and recent photos started making the rounds on social media. But Kim insisted the only thing she'd done was get double eyelid surgery. If you thought the scandal was messy enough already, hold on to your seat, because things are about to get even crazier. On January 16, 2022, MBC's Straight program aired multiple recordings of phone conversations between keon-hee and a journalist. The recordings, which totaled a whopping 7 hours, sent shockwaves across South Korea and broke viewership records as soon as the episode aired. The journalist behind these tapes was Lee Myung-soo, a reporter for the left-leaning media outlet Voice of Seoul. On July 6, 2021, Lee first called Kim, who was immediately on edge. She told him flat out, "I don't do interviews." Her caution wasn't without reason. Voice of Seoul had a history of being hostile toward Yoon's party, the People Power Party. They had published plenty of pieces attacking right-wing or conservative parties, like the People Power Party and Republican Party. But as that first call was wrapping up, Kim suddenly expressed her gratitude toward Voice of Seoul's chairman, Paik Eun-jong. Back in July 2019, when Yoon had been controversially promoted to prosecutor general, a media outlet called News Tapa released a series of negative reports about him. At the time, Paik had fiercely defended Yoon, calling Newstapa's reporting false. Paik's support wasn't all that surprising. This was when Yoon's image as a corruption-fighting, no-nonsense prosecutor was at its peak. Plus, as prosecutor general, Yoon wasn't affiliated with any political party, so there was no political friction between him and Voice of Seoul. This incident made Kim think that maybe, just maybe, their interests didn't clash as much as she once thought. Even though Yoon had since joined the People Power Party, Kim believed Voice of Seoul could still be an ally. Between July and December 2021, Lee and Kim spoke over 50 times. Slowly but surely, Lee earned Kim's trust, and the two even started calling each other big sister and little brother. On July 12th, Kim made her first move, asking Lee to join their team and help boost Yoon's presidential campaign. By July 21st, Kim was openly trashing the People Power Party, calling them so amateur. She couldn't believe that with Yoon's background as a former prosecutor general and now a presidential candidate, the party wasn't doing more to help him out. On September 15th, Kim urged Lee to throw a curveball during a press conference, asking him to embarrass Hong Junpyo, another People Power Party candidate who ended up losing to Yoon in the primaries. In one call from September 3rd, Lee asked him, "If I join you, what kind of work could I do?" Kim replied, "There's plenty to do. Just follow my orders. You could use your best skill, gathering intel." She then told him, "If my husband becomes president, you'll be the biggest winner. Do you really think if someone like progressive candidate Lee Jae-myung gets elected, you'll benefit? No way. You'll be left with nothing." Kim's candid and cutthroat comments, caught on tape, painted a much different picture than her public persona and further fueled the controversy surrounding her. On October 18th, 2021, Kim promised Lee Myung-soo, "If you come work for us and do a good job, I'll make sure you get at least 100 million won as a reward." When these phone recordings were aired by MBC, the reaction across South Korea was explosive. Before the show aired, Kim had actually tried to block it, filing a lawsuit claiming it violated the Protection of Communications Secrets Act. Her team argued that Lee secretly recorded their conversations without her consent, which was illegal, and that airing the tapes without permission was a violation of her privacy. But the court ruled against her, deciding that Kim was a public figure and that the contents of the recordings were relevant to the presidential election. Since the information could influence voters, the court allowed most of the conversations to be broadcast, though they did redact parts that involved Kim's family and unrelated private matters. While the tapes threw Kim into a firestorm, they also sparked a crisis of trust around Lee Myung-soo as a journalist. Many people began to question whether his actions crossed a line in terms of professional ethics. Still, one interesting bit in the recordings was Kim's fiery response to the Julie scandal. Kim flat out denied the allegations, saying, "I'm not Julie. On Hae-yuke is completely making stuff up. The more he talks, the worse he's going to make it for himself. He's going to end up in jail." Funny enough, On Hae-yuke, the former president of the Taekwondo Association, who claimed to have met Kim in the VIP lounge of the Renaissance Hotel, was arrested by South Korean police on January 30th, 2024. But Kim wasn't the only one stirring up controversy. Her entire family seemed to be a handful of troublemakers. Every member had skeletons in their closet. Just 3 days after Yoon threw his hat into the presidential ring on July 2nd, 2021, his mother-in-law, Choi Yoon-soon, hit him with a scandal straight out of the Nightmare In-Laws playbook. As we've mentioned, Choi had made her fortune in the hotel business and real estate, with her old hotel being converted into a nursing home. But in 2021, she was accused of illegally setting up a senior care facility by creating a medical fund despite not being a licensed healthcare provider. From 2013 to 2015, she was said to have fraudulently collected 2.29 billion won, about $1.72 million, in nursing care insurance payments from the National Health Insurance Service. 3 of her business partners were convicted back in 2015, but Choi skated by because she'd signed a letter waiving her responsibility. She wasn't even indicted at the time. However, by November 2020, the National Health Insurance Service decided Choi's insurance claims were shady and filed a lawsuit to recover the money. On July 2nd, 2021, the same day Yoon announced his candidacy, the Wajongba District Court sentenced Choi Eun-soon to 3 years in prison, and she was immediately taken into custody. Yoon, having no political experience at the time, quickly distanced himself, stating, "The law is equal for everyone. That's my belief." It was a savvy move to keep his image clean. But things took a wild turn just 6 months later. On January 25, 2022, the appeals court completely overturned the original ruling, declaring that the prosecution's evidence wasn't strong enough. Choi was acquitted and walked free, and the National Health Insurance Service dropped their demand for the 2.29 billion won repayment. The timing couldn't have been more suspicious, considering that just 2 months later, Yoon was elected as South Korea's 20th president. Now, whether Yoon, a former prosecutor, had a hand in this outcome remains a mystery. But according to a report from the Hankyeori, the second trial judge was a classmate of Yoon's from the Judicial Research and Training Institute and had also worked with Choi's defense attorney for 5 years. In any normal case, the judge would have recused himself, but that didn't happen. This raised eyebrows, with the prosecution questioning the fairness of the ruling and filing an appeal. Yet, by December that same year, the Supreme Court rejected the appeal, saying the ruling was sound. Choi Eun-soon ultimately walked away scot-free. But just because she dodged a bullet this time doesn't mean her luck will last forever. Back in March 2021, Oh My News published an article titled, Yoon Suk-yeol's mother-in-law obsessed with real estate, with the not-so-subtle subtitle, Choi Eun-soon, the thorn in Yoon's side. The piece hinted that Yoon's ambitious mother-in-law and her real estate schemes would eventually drag him down. Sure enough, that thorn started to sting again. While Choi was deep in her insurance fraud mess, she got swept up in yet another scandal. The drama was far from over. On March 17, 2020, Choi Eun-soon found herself in hot water again. This time, she was hit with criminal charges for forging bank documents, faking private contracts, and violating South Korea's Real Name Real Estate Act. According to the charges, between April and October 2013, Choi faked bank statements 4 times while purchasing land in Dokkan-dong, Songnam, Gyeonggi Province, using these forged documents as collateral for the deal. The total fake amount? A jaw-dropping 34.7 billion won, roughly $26.08 million. Not only that, but during the land purchase, she also signed contracts under the names of her business partner, On and On son-in-law, which was another clear violation of the Real Name Real Estate Act. In December 2021, the court found her guilty of document forgery and sentenced her to a year in prison. Choi, however, wasn't having it and appealed the sentence, claiming it was too harsh. Fast forward to July 21st, 2023, when Choi, dressed to the nines in pearls and looking poised, walked confidently into the Wajongba District Court for her second trial, flanked by her lawyer. But her confidence didn't last long. The judge upheld the original ruling, stating that Choi's crimes involved a massive sum of money, carried the risk of additional charges, and made her a flight risk. The decision? Immediate arrest. And that's when things went off the rails. Right there in the courtroom, Choi lost it. She yelled, "I don't understand what you're saying. Repeat that. The ruling is wrong. I'm going to poison myself before God. Let me die here." The 76-year-old then collapsed in a fit of rage, causing a chaotic scene that dragged on for a full 20 minutes. In the end, it took 4 female officers to carry her out to the transport vehicle. By May 14th this year, Choi was granted parole and walked out of prison. But the drama didn't stop there. Just 2 months before she went to jail on May 12, 2023, the investigation into Kim's elder brother, Kim Jin-woo, and his involvement in the Yangpyeong-gongyu District Development scandal wrapped up. Kim's company, ESIND, had been caught fabricating documents related to construction costs and timelines during the development, leading to underpayment of 1.748 billion won, about $1.32 million, in development fees. And then, things got even shadier. It turned out that after Yoon took office, the planned route for the Seoul-Yangpyeong highway mysteriously changed. The new route's endpoint? Conveniently, right by the large chunk of land owned by Kim's family. The Kim clan owned over 20 plots in the area, some co-owned by Choi and her children, others under Kim's younger brother's name. Local councils approved the new route quickly, without a public hearing. With such a suspicious reroute and no transparency, it's hard not to wonder if there was some serious backroom dealing going on. In July 2023, with public outrage boiling over and the scandal growing, the pressure on the government was too much to ignore. Won Hee-ryong, then Minister of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport, had no choice but to hold an emergency press conference announcing the immediate halt of the Seoul-Yangpyeong Highway project. He claimed he had no idea the new route passed through land owned by Kim's family. Sure, buddy. But the shady deals didn't stop there. Kim and her mother were also accused of manipulating the stock price of Deutsche Motors, BMW's distributor in Korea, between 2009 and 2012, pocketing billions of won in profits. It's like this family was playing a game of how close can we get to the legal line without crossing it. After all these shady maneuvers by his in-laws, Yoon's image as the righteous prosecutor started to crumble. The same guy who had once thrown former presidents Park Geun-hye and Lee Myung-bak behind bars now found himself at the mercy of prosecutors. It seems the infamous Blue House curse was looming over Yoon's head like it has for so many South Korean presidents before him, a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. By now, you might be wondering, how on earth did Yoon still win the presidency in 2022 with all these scandals hanging over his head? Well, that election was unlike any other in South Korea's history. Both of the top candidates, Yoon and his rival Lee Jae-myung, were more disliked than liked by the public. In fact, a poll by a South Korean research institute found that out of 1,000 adults surveyed, 56.6% thought it was necessary to replace both candidates. Talk about a lesser of two evils situation. Yoon's main competitor, Lee Jae-myung of the ruling Democratic Party, was dealing with his own mountain of scandals. While Kim was facing accusations of plagiarism, stock manipulation, and bribing journalists, Lee was getting hit with revelations about his son's illegal gambling and his wife allegedly ordering government staff to run personal errands. At the start of 2022, things got even worse for Lee, as he was accused of abusing his power while governor of Gyeonggi Province and violating the Public Official Election Act. To top it off, his private lawyer was caught taking massive bribes. And get this, the whistleblower in that case, Lee Byung-chul, mysteriously died in a hotel in Seoul just before he was set to testify. But it doesn't stop there. Lee Jae-myung was also wrapped up in the Daejeong-dong real estate development scandal from his time as mayor of Songnam. In a bizarre twist, two key figures involved in the case both died suddenly right before Lee was set to be questioned by police. So, yeah, the 2022 election wasn't exactly about choosing the best candidate. It was more like choosing between a dumpster fire and a full-blown inferno. In the end, it was a case of picking the least bad option, and Yoon scraped by with 48.56% of the vote to win the presidency. His opponent, Lee Jae-myung, wasn't far behind at 47.83%, a gap of fewer than 300,000 votes, the smallest margin in South Korea's presidential election history. Now, with Yoon's term already halfway over, the scandals swirling around him and Kim's family haven't shown any signs of slowing down. On November 27, 2023, left-wing media outlet Voice of Seoul dropped a bombshell of a video that sent shockwaves through the country. The video, filmed on September 13, 2022, shows Korean-American pastor Choi Ji-young handing First Lady Kim a 3 million won, around $2,200, Dior handbag during a visit. Kim can be heard saying, "You shouldn't keep bringing these things. Please don't do this next time," while happily accepting the gift. The kicker? The video was secretly recorded by Pastor Choi using a hidden camera in his watch, and the gift was actually planted by Voice of Seoul. Here's the backstory. Pastor Choi is an advocate for closer relations between North and South Korea, but Yoon has taken a much harder, more aggressive stance toward the North. Back in January 2022, while Yoon was still campaigning for president, Choi reached out to Kim, offering to share some advice. Fast forward to May 2022, Choi received an invitation to attend Yoon's inauguration. A month later, he visited Kim's office to thank her and brought a $1,300 Chanel gift set with him. During that visit, Choi claimed he overheard a conversation suggesting that Kim had a say in appointing a high-ranking government official, which led him to decide to expose her. That's when Choi teamed up with Voice of Seoul, and they set a trap, a fancy designer bag as bait. On September 13, 2022, during his second meeting with Kim, Choi had the hidden camera rolling on his wrist. He later revealed that he had made multiple requests to meet with Kim, always sending her photos of expensive gifts beforehand. The only 2 times she agreed to meet, when the gifts were luxury items. According to South Korea's anti-corruption law, government officials and their spouses can't accept gifts worth more than $750, even if there's no potential conflict of interest. So, when this video hit the internet, it sparked a huge debate. Yoon's camp fired back, calling it a carefully orchestrated political setup. They claimed that Pastor Choi had tried to cozy up to Yoon by mentioning that he and Yoon's late father were from the same hometown and had repeatedly asked for meetings. Plus, they pointed out that the video wasn't released until a year after the incident, just in time to stir up drama before the 2024 National Assembly elections. Yoon defended Kim by saying her only fault was not being firm enough to reject the meetings, explaining that sometimes even a president and first lady can't be cold-hearted to everyone. But the public wasn't buying it. No matter how Yoon tried to spin it, the fact remained, Kim had accepted that designer bag and there was no denying it. In December 2023, a civic group called People's Solidarity filed a complaint with South Korea's Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission, ACRC, against Yoon, Kim, and Pastor Choi Jae-young over the luxury handbag scandal. The ACRC quickly launched an investigation into Kim's acceptance of the pricey gift. By June 2024, the commission concluded that Kim had committed no wrongdoing, and the case was closed. But things took a dark turn just 2 months later. On August 8th, a senior official from the ACRC, who had been in charge of investigating the case, was found dead at home, reigniting the controversy. According to a report from the Hankyeol, 2 days before his death, the official, referred to as Mr. A, sent a message to a friend that read, "We really let everyone down recently, and I'm so sorry. I'm feeling terrible." On June 27th, he'd also called a friend for drinks, saying, "The leadership at the ACRC forced the closure of the Kim luxury bag case. I disagreed, but I couldn't fight it. I'm exhausted." The Hankyeol published another article on August 9th, revealing that the ACRC's decision to drop the investigation had sparked heated debate during a full commission meeting. The case was pushed to closure by ACRC Chairman Yoo Chul-hyung and 3 vice chairmen with close ties to Yoon. Some members of the commission voiced concerns, saying, "If we just close this case like this, it'll be an embarrassment on the world stage. It'll look like we're protecting the president." At one point, when a member referred to the luxury bag as a bribe, another member immediately shut down that language. Meanwhile, back in May 2022, Yoon and Kim attended an inauguration celebration dinner together. Yoon, known for enjoying his drinks, had just picked up his glass when Kim shot him a look. Yoon quickly set the glass back down, and only then did Kim shift her gaze away from him. That wasn't the only time Kim seemed to call the shots. During the inauguration ceremony, Yoon had stood a bit too far forward for Kim's liking, so she yanked him back, a moment that was widely covered by the South Korean media. This sparked concerns among some citizens that history could repeat itself, another Choi Soon-sil scandal in the making. In the infamous Park Geun-hye scandal, it was her close friend Choi Soon-sil pulling the strings from the shadows, with corporate conglomerates and maybe even cults backing her. Now, people are wondering if Yoon has a new behind-the-scenes operator, his wife Kim, and behind her, more corporate bigwigs, and perhaps even a few mystical masters. But one thing's for sure, Yoon's presidency is turning into a non-stop drama, and it looks like the first couple will keep delivering juicy scandals for a long time to come.